Weatherland. Here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Hurricane Bill. This is an hour-long show here. We're going to be doing updates at the top of every hour overnight tonight, and then continuous updates. We will be doing news and weather once the storm begins to make landfall, and that looks to happen starting tomorrow morning about 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 o'clock in the morning, the way things are shaping up, because Barry is moving so slowly. Did I say Bill again? I said Bill again. I've been wanting to call this storm Bill all along. I want to call him Bill. You can call him Barry. Let's get to it, and let's get to the notes once again. Sometimes you get these blocks in the head. Yeah, it's been a long week already. I've had 14, 15-hour days since Monday, so please forgive me. One thing though we want to let you know about is the the Vermilion River at Surrey. This has been dropped down because they cut off the Bayou Catawba feed. This was done proactively to bring down the water level on the Vermilion. I don't know how much is going to help us out, but we'll see. The projection by the National Weather Service up to 15 feet by Sunday afternoon, and it may go higher. You got to remember back to the August 2016 flood. It reached 16.74 feet, so that's a 1.5 feet lower. But that is just a roughshod projection right now. That's based on probably 8 to 12 inches of rain. I think we see a little bit more than that in Lafayette. We'll have to wait and see. Here's the big picture with respect to radar. It's going to be a quiet night for the most of the night. I think we see some of these sporadic tropical rain bands that we're seeing over southeast Louisiana, over toward the Grand Isle area. They'll be pushing in with time, but the bottom line is not much weather going on. The breeze gradually picks up through tomorrow morning. Not much weather in the morning, but then things go downhill as we get closer to noon, and certainly it's going to be sooner for the coastal parishes. We'll say midday into the I-10 corridor, and then later than that farther to the north. And as we look at the big picture, it's hard to see where the heck is this tropical storm, and the actual center of circulation is right about over here, but we've had this other mid-level low pressure system kind of wrapping around, and that's producing all the intense lightning and more than likely 50, 60 knot gusts way out here away from the storm. But this moisture will continue to kind of follow around and feed into it. Again, the radars don't see much more than what we're showing you right here because of the curvature of the earth. So the beam is actually going up 40, 50,000 feet. And if it's hitting this stuff over here, this is probably topping out at 65,000 feet. So these are very intense thunderstorms way out here in the Gulf of Mexico. Bigger picture, and again, we'll throw on the wind particles. You can see where the center of circulation of Barry is at this point. Strongest winds indicated by the purple here on the southern and eastern flank, and that's the way it's going to go as this moves inland. I'm going to show you some of the wind products in just a bit. Now, if you missed it earlier, here's the heavy-duty thunderstorms. The convection has been mostly south of the system. The circulation getting a little bit more underneath the canopy of this convection or thunderstorm activity, so this could bode for some slow development overnight tonight through tomorrow morning, and that's what's in the forecast. 65-mile-an-hour winds right now. It's drifting to the west-northwest at about 3. No change in pressure now. Hurricane hunters are out. A new mission is going to get tasked to go out there probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. So we'll get new information for the 4 a.m. forecast package. The 10 o'clock package tonight, shifting the track just a little bit to the west from what we were looking at earlier. There's that Category 1 icon showing up on this particular run. We've been saying all along we expect it to become a low-end Category 1 hurricane, but anything between 70 and 75-mile-an-hour winds, not much of a change. It's still sporting 60-mile-an-hour winds as it goes through Lafayette Parish, and again, this is a slower run, 7 o'clock in the evening. Here we are 7 a.m. Sunday morning. Here we are at 7 p.m. Sunday evening, and we're going to have these wraparound rain bands. Most of the rain is going to be east of this system, and this is what we're going to remember this system for, the rainfall, and it's going to be on the eastern side and on the southern side of the storm. So first the wind, some shower activity, the typical stuff you see in a tropical storm, and then the heavy-duty rainfall. And then we showed you the European model earlier. earlier, I'm going to show you a different model now. This is the NAM 3-kilometer model. It's a much higher resolution model, but we haven't been able to show it to you over the last several days because it was overdoing it on pressure, and it may be doing the same here, but we're counting on pretty much that storm track bringing it down to St. Mary Parish, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then slowly meandering. This model run is a little bit farther to the east of the forecast track, but it gives you an idea on what the rain bands are going to look like, especially in the eastern quadrant of the storm. This model just coming in. In fact, I'm seeing it just with you first time through. So this bodes that some of the wind gusts are going to be higher than what I've been showing during the course of the evening. If you watched our newscast at 5 or 6, also all the way through the top of the hour cast, this is going to show you much higher winds. And then you see the rain bands coming on through, repeated rain bands through tomorrow night, through Sunday, and it continues through Sunday afternoon into the latter part of the afternoon, and we will still have some flooding issues more than likely through Sunday. Not the solid rains, but more training of tropical showers and thunderstorms across the area. And again, this goes all the way through Monday morning. Still, we're dealing with some locally heavy downpours, but things will be calming down as we get into the latter part of Monday and into Tuesday. Now, this computer model will just get us through Saturday at 5 o'clock. Oh, actually, I stopped it. It's going to get us to a limited time. Oh, this is the European model, so please, I'll show you the other model in just a bit, but this is the model that we trust the most. The European model, it's a steady model. It doesn't overdo the rainfall, but what will change is where the axis of the heavy rains are going to be. And this tomorrow night at this time, we're already going to see 5 to 10 inches of rain, and we get into the pink right here. That's 10 inches, and then you see the 15, 20 inches offshore, and it only expands. So it looks like, based on what the models are telling us, that the heaviest rains will be coming later tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, all night tomorrow night into Sunday and Sunday afternoon. And after all is said and done, the storm totals are going to see a swath of 10 to 15 inches of rain. And this is exactly in concert with the National Hurricane Center. And there will be isolated amounts that push 15, 20, maybe even 25 inches of rain, and we see some enhancements there, 20 inch there, 25 offshore, and that could be anywhere from Acadiana on eastward. Don't pay attention to the specific numbers quite yet, but this gives you an idea that a foot of rain possible anywhere across Acadiana and off to the east, and I think the threat of heavy rainfall is going to be a little bit east of what the European model is showing right now, and maybe this whole axis moves eastward. No promises. We won't know what we're getting until we start seeing those rain bands move in, and that may not be until tomorrow afternoon or this time tomorrow night. So just be prepared for flooding. This could be devastating, catastrophic for some, and if you flooded in 2016, I'm giving about a 50-50 odds of that occurring again with this system. Hopefully we'll look at the glass as half full rather than half empty, and things change, but we have to plan on those heavy rainfalls. This is the high resolution rapid refresh model. This is the one that's limited. It gets us only till Sunday morning. But again, you can see how it's forming up and how that heavy rain axis, and this one likes the heavy rain axis a little bit farther to the east, so we'll be watching that very, very closely. Now, here's the wind forecast. I've blended two models together, the European model for the wind particles right here, and for the specific output, the NAM model that's showing the specific numbers and the winds. And this has been going back and forth, so somewhere the truth is going to lie with this particular model, and this one is certainly going for very strong winds across St. Mary Parish. These are wind gusts, not sustained, but gusts, and this is where the model's showing where the squalls are going to be. St. Mary Parish, first thing tomorrow morning, winds coming up. I don't think they come up this high, but we'll show you what we look at and how we evaluate it, but notice the winds are a lot higher than what we were showing you on the last model run. It gives us this windshield wiper effect. I know it's like, well, what is it going to be, Rob? Is it going to be 30 or is it going to be 60 or 50 or 70? And I'm going to say yes, it's going to be somewhere in between. Where in between, we can't tell you that, but you can see these wind gusts across the area are going to be 40, 50 miles an hour, and there may be some gusts to 80 in those tropical squalls. Certainly a possibility, but this model is, I think, overdoing it on the pressure. But just in case this becomes more than a 75 mile an hour storm, if it should become 85 mile an hour storm, mind you, 12, 16 hours out, we could be off 10 or 15 miles on the intensity of the storm, and we'll see how things go overnight tonight. Hopefully this is worse than the worst case scenario, but you can see the winds stay up in the 50 to 60 mile an hour range tomorrow afternoon. They stay that way. Notice this model's got the center of circulation a little bit farther to the east, and the still gusts in the 60 mile an hour range all across the part of eastern Louisiana, and we'll still see gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour through tomorrow afternoon. And then you're thinking, well, things might calm down a little bit tomorrow night. But then we have these tropical squalls still going, so we still see 50 mile an hour wind gusts going into Sunday morning, and then even into the latter part of Sunday morning. Still gusts near 50. We see a couple of 50s still showing up at noon on Sunday, and that also indicates to me that we're going to have these tropical rain bands. The winds may not be this high, but that's what we're looking at. And then things finally beginning to calm down late Sunday. So this is the big graphic on the timeline, and we have not changed our thinking. 3 to 6 feet storm surge along the coast, definitely an enhanced risk of that, a high risk of that as we're in the shade of purple, high risk of 5 to 15 inches of rain area wide, 15 to 25 in some spots, and prepare for those tropical storm winds. We're going to have a little bit more coming up later on in the weathercast, so we'll be right back in just a little bit.